Hello, in this video I want to show you the new features that were introduced with Rayforge 0.27. So, firstly, the machine dialog, the settings dialog, was completely reworked. So you can see it has a new layout. The tabs have moved to the left here, but basically the settings are very similar. But a lot of time was spent improving device support. Firstly, the GRBL serial driver was substantially changed. Lots of improvements were made. So if you had any problems with it in the past, try again. Hopefully this time it will work better. Also, new options were added for more machine types. You can change the position of the origin now. Previously, you could only choose the Y-axis position. Now you can choose 4 different options: bottom left, top right, or bottom right origin. And also you can choose to reverse the axis direction in the user interface. This was requested by some users who have machines where the axis direction is negative. Also, there's now an option to allow for single axis homing. Actually, this was the default in previous releases. Now, if you disable this switch, then in the jog dialog, the homing buttons here would be active or inactive. So right now it's disabled, that's why all these are inactive here. If you toggle this on in the settings, then these buttons would be active, assuming your machine is connected. Another new feature is the tracking of machine hours. So if you look in this machine settings dialog here at the bottom, you see a new tab. And there you can see the total operating hours, and also you can define special maintenance counters. For example, if you want to lubricate your machine every 1000 hours or so, then you would define this here. Just set the interval here to 1000. Call it lubrication, save it, and then you would see this. And when these 1000 hours are reached, then you would also get a notification in the main window that it's time for maintenance. The sketcher has been improved a lot in this release. So first of all, sketches are now added by clicking on Add Asset here, and then Add Sketch. And you can already see, as soon as I draw something, that the selection looks a little bit better now. And also a new tool that was added is to create fills. So you can now create solid geometry and no longer just lines. So you can make engravable stuff and no longer just cutting lines, which could be useful in some cases. But the biggest improvement is in terms of expressions. So you can now define parameters. Let's define one here. Let's call this one a diameter. This is a little bit larger here. Diameter. And this is my fancy diameter. And then I can give it a default value. Let's make it 20 millimeters by default. You can define a minimum value or a maximum value. Let's say the minimum is 1 millimeter. So, and then you can use this variable name in expressions. So, for example, if I double click here to add a constraint, no longer can you only enter numbers here. You can actually use formulas, Python expressions. And also you have auto-completion. So if I type N, you can see already the options that are offered. But let me type D for diameter, and then I can, of course, use Tab to auto-complete this. And then I press OK, and you can see the default value of 20 was applied here. Now when I finish this, there's another difference. So now you see this has not appeared on your work surface. The reason is that sketches are now basically templates. So you can take a sketch from the assets here and drag it onto your surface, and you can do that multiple times. So each of these is defined by this sketch. If I go in here and make a change, I don't know, maybe I add a line here, like this, and then click Finish. Then you can see both of these instances receive this line. You can also change the parameters of each of these instances. For example, now I have this one here selected, and if you scroll down, and then you see at the bottom of the workpiece properties the parameters that are defined for this sketch. So the default diameter is 20, but I can change this to, let's say, 30 here in this case, and immediately you see the size updates. So you have the same sketch, but with different parameter values here. I can make this one here smaller, for example, to 10, and this is 10, and this is 30, with one and the same sketch. Another new feature is the new tool to create rounded rectangles. So if you right click in the sketcher and choose this option here, or press G followed by R, then you can create a rounded rectangle like this. And of course you can continue to apply other constraints as well. For example, I want to make this symmetric around the center, and you can select them, press S for symmetry, and you see that the symmetry constraint appeared here as well. You can also, of course, define the radius. Let's give it a radius of 5 millimeters. And if you want to give it a length, then you select these 2 points and press KD, and you see it appears. You can change the length also, just define it to 65, and of course the same thing also works for the height, also with KD. If you want to get Rayforge, head over to our website, rayforge.org. The links are in the description, also to the GitHub, to the Patreon, and of course to our Discord.